Good morning, my name is Lena Murra. I'm here for GNP Idiomas. We're putting together a series of teaching tutorials for teachers to teach young children at an intermediate level, all right? So they're doing well. And this one is tutorial number 9. And today we are going to be looking at modals, and this one is modals of obligation, okay? Modals of obligation. Now, they're tricky. There are two modals, and they are have to, which is actually a semi-modal. Have to and must. Okay. Now, they're pretty much the same in most contexts. But have to is an imposition. It's obligation that's imposed. All right. It's external, so to speak. Whereas must is personal. So it's accepted by the speaker, and that's the main difference. Curiously, must is also used for laws, so things like all workers must wear hard hats. And that's a huge imposition because that's external, that's obviously somebody imposing what you need to do, curiously. But a lot of this depends on the speaker and where they're from. Americans not very often use must, they use have to a lot more, whereas I think the British distinguish more clearly when to use have to and when to use must. That's the main difference between the two, okay? The trick is in the negative. In the negative, they're completely different. Don't have to, which is actually a semi-modal, so it can take an auxiliary. Don't have to is something that's not necessary, all right? So you could say don't need to as well, all right? Need is necessity, so don't need to. But mustn't is prohibited. You could also use can't. Now this is prohibited. Alright, that's a big difference. So these are very similar, these are opposites, okay? This doesn't cause this is not a problem for the students. This will be, okay? You have to give them a lot of examples, and things like, I really must see a doctor, or I have to go because somebody's waiting for me. They're different, all right? The past of this gets a little bit confusing, all right? You know that the past of must is had to. You have no option there. The past then is always had to. I don't have a past of must, okay? Now, I do have these things in past. Now, let's just erase this bottom part because this is tricky. Now, the past of don't have to is didn't have to. All right? And the past of don't need to is didn't need to. And these remain the same. But there is another structure which is needn't have done. All right? Also a past. You know that you use the past. You use a present perfect structure after a modal, often to turn it into a past. This is different from this, okay? These two things are different. This is, you're describing a situation where something wasn't done because you were told in time that it wasn't necessary. So I didn't have to do it, or I didn't have to do the test because the teacher didn't come. But let's say you make a reservation in a restaurant, and it turns out that the restaurant's empty. You made the reservation for nothing, and you would describe that situation as, I needn't have made the reservation because the restaurant's empty. So they become different because here you were warned and you didn't do it. So the action was not done because you were informed in time. Whereas this one, the action was done for nothing. It's a waste of time. So this is tricky. And this is difficult for them to understand, and you have to give them loads of examples and situations where they have to use one or the other for them to be able to pick up on it, okay? All right, thank you very much, and that was it.